What is the suffer? But the suffering brings me happiness. If we say that the life is like fishing, you will never know what you will get next. Maybe you can have a cheap fish. If you are lucky enough, you can get the expensive one. Of course, you will also get broken boots and empty bottles. The number of them will be way more than the fishes. To 7 years old me, these useless boots and bottles are suffering. My mother always told me you need to feel thanks for the suffering in your life. They make you stronger. In the film and television dramas, there are always some people who make it difficult for the protagonist to let them suffer. When the main character finally overcome every difficulty and achieved their goal, they say, "How can you see the rainbow without the wind and rain? The bitterness you suffer will be a precious treasure of your life." This kind of argument that pain is wealth, we should tax it acceptable and appreciated by everyone. It seems that suffering is a good thing. It's necessary for our growth and even worth punishing. But the 7 years old I thought pain is just pain, and it can only bring me back. Therefore, the suffering always drives me crazy. I can't afford any of them. Even though I got a little cut on my finger, I would cry loud to get attention from my parents and want to hear their kind words. I would try to avoid any difficult things. The bonus question at the end of the paper was so hard, I would skip it. The music was too difficult to play, well, no thanks. The teacher was angry about me, I would cry in front of everybody to get their sympathy. I used many ways to get rid of a hard time so that my childhood was simple and safe. You need to try different things and find your goal in the future. My mother said several times. They're unfamiliar to me and full of danger, I responded. Who wants to get involved in trouble? I just want a normal life. But you don't know what the world will be if you refuse to do any hard things. She tried to let me agree. You put yourself in the most comfortable protected circle and do only what you can be sure of success. What if the safe ever broken another day? What if we leave you one day? I was so scared to hear that, so I cried. As long as I cry, there is nothing I can't solve. Mom did stop her words. I knew that I was wrong. She closed her eyes and made a painful expression. The situation changed right away when I entered high school. I came to Canada and studied here. My English was not bad. However, I was not at the level of studying abroad. I will always remember when I looked down on Vancouver from the plane from the first time. Several city high-rise buildings were surrounded by plenty of little houses. Thousands of roads connected together and the other places were large forests. I was staying here till I graduate from the university. This little lonely city. I'm murdering. On the second day in Vancouver, I went hiking alone and lost my way with low-power phone. A stranger with golden retriever asked me if something happened. I said that I was lost. He took me directly to the bus station. I felt that my face must have been so bad that he felt my embarrassment. The city has such kind people, I thought. After a few days, my homestay sold their house and returned my deposit back with a sorry face. Other things happened just like God is laughing at me. As soon as I felt kindness in this place, it used its own way to teach me a lesson. I walked to the door of the train station, but I didn't know how to go home. I sat on the steps while listening to the song and looking at the sky. Have I told you that in the evening of Vancouver, when you look up, you can see the Milky Way? Who wasn't being cheated? When I complained about this thing Lots of my international friends had this experience before. In the second year of going abroad, I started to learn to cook. I didn't expect that my friends around me were good, especially my good roommate. It's a pity that she is not a chef. I learned to cook not only because it can save time, but also I could save money. One day I said, when I have the ability to take care of myself and others, those people who had taken care of me before are not around anymore. Some friends in China asked me how can I solve every trouble by myself. I was weak and talkative in the middle school. Well, I said, people will change and try to fit the environment that she lived in. Nothing is impossible. The suffering taught me many things. If there is nobody support you in the back, you must do your best and face the suffering. If I must say that, what did I learn from these 2 years? I think it will be how do I face loneliness. When you had been through eating and running by yourself, we got used to facing all kinds of twists and turns. Then the definition of loneliness is clear in your heart. If there is no suffering, then life is only empty and boring. They are all the same boring, left Tolstoy in Anna Karenina, a classic. The statement truly depicts this fact. Happy families are similar, and unfortunate families have their own misfortunes. The implication is that happiness is almost the same boring, and pain has its own method of suffering. The happiness after suffering makes my life meaningful. The knowledge gained from suffering makes me confident to sit on the train to my dream.